So I ran my first marathon, and that's something that I never ever thought that I would say. And maybe that's the case for you too, and you're like, there's no way that I'd ever be able to do that, and that was me. I remember it was, oh gosh, we're in 2025. 2023, started to run a little bit and was very inconsistent with it. But one of the things that happened in 2022 was our daughter was born, Ashton, and I gained like 25 pounds. And I was like, you know what? I need to find something that I enjoy, that I like to do that can help me keep off some weight. Now, running isn't about keeping off weight. There's a lot of studies out there when it comes to cardio and how that works and blah, blah, blah. But it was something that in my mind in 2023 was like, okay, this is what it's going to be. Um, it was January of 2023 when I found a book called The 17-Day Diet, which isn't just 17 days. It's actually what it does is it kind of clears out all the bad things in your system by making you eat very, very clean, basically just protein and veggies for 17 days, along with probiotics, yogurt, and fruit, and all these different things, just water. And so I did that. And day 14, I had lost, oh gosh, I want to say 12, 13 pounds. I can't exactly remember. And I was like, holy cow, this is crazy to me. And so it starts out with those 17 days, and then it goes on 4 different cycles. And what it does is allows you to start to add in a few more things. Every 17-day cycle, there's 4 of them. And what it's doing is teaching you what it looks like to eat clean, eat better, so that you don't put yourself back in the same situation that you were in when you started the 17-day diet. And that was the case for me. And I was grateful for that. And it was hard work to be able to do those things, but it's something that I needed to do. It's something that I wanted to do to be fit for my family, to be able to do things that I could do to help my family and to be here long term so that I can be with them for a long time. And the way that I was going was putting me in a bad spot. Now, I'm not the most fit person ever. I'm not jacked, or I'm not defined or anything like that. But what I've learned throughout the last 2 years of trying to figure this stuff out is, man, it's so important to eat clean, to be healthy, and to be active. You don't have to be an Olympic athlete. You don't have to be a professional athlete in order to stay healthy. But you can just do active things on a daily basis and be healthy. And one of the reasons that I wanted to do this is so that I could be there for my family, not just now, being active, being able to do things with my daughter. We have another kid on the way, being able to do things with my son here in a couple of months, but being able to be here the next 40, 50 years and being able to be healthy for them. But that stuff starts now, not 10 years from now. And I wish I would have realized that in my early 20s and my teenage years. I played baseball and stuff like that in high school. We would work out, we would run, but I didn't understand it. But now that I know it, I feel responsible for it. And so I think it's important to continue to run and run and run and to be active and to eat clean. I'm not perfect at that, but I do try most of my meals to eat as clean as I can. Now, in 2023, I didn't run very much. There would be months where there would be spurts of energy and spurts of motivation to run, and I would do that. But it just wasn't enough. It wasn't enough running. And then in 2024, I was like, you know what, I'm going to be really dedicated to this. And I think in January, I maybe ran 50 miles or so, 40, 50. February, I ran 5, lost that motivation in 2024. But then every month after that was like 40 miles plus. And I just found it. I found something that I was interested in, something that I was excited about. And one of the things that really helped me was being able to sign up for races. And so, yeah, there's 5K races out there that I really enjoy doing. I like doing the 5K race. It's a pretty cool distance. Helps you realize kind of how quick you can be over a short span of time. But also, I think it was in May of last year, maybe late April, I had signed up for my first half marathon in Elizabethton, Tennessee, and did that, which was really cool because I had done a practice half marathon, and then when I went to that one, I shaved off 10 minutes within the span of 2 or 3 months. And then after that, I just kind of ran for fun for a little bit and then trained for another half marathon in Kingsport, Tennessee. I think that was in October, and ended up shaving off another 7 or 8 minutes or something like that there. And once you start to see those times drop, it starts to get a little addicting, and you want to keep doing it and seeing how fast you can get. But after that, I was like, okay, I feel like I'm ready to do a marathon, if you can really be ready to do a marathon. Um, but I was actually going to wait a year. I wasn't going to do it this year in 2025, but around that time that I was trying to decide, do I do a marathon? Do I not? Do I just do a couple halves again and see what happens? We found out that we were having our son coming up in July of 2025 this year. And I was like, you know what? If there's ever going to be a time, this is the time to do it, because I know that with one kid, it was really hard to train and find the time to do those things. But I know it's going to be even harder whenever I get into having another kid, and there's two schedules that we're working with. And being able to go out on those 2 3 hour long runs is very difficult whenever there's a kid in the mix. Like right now, most of my running happens in the morning, when Maddie has her, or during Ashton's naps on the weekend, so that I can go out and do 2 hours while Maddie and her are here at the house. And so it's hard. A lot of times I just want to be able to sit down while she naps and relax, because the rest of the day is crazy. But I know that if I don't go out and put in the work, I'm not going to be able to get where I want to go when it comes to marathon and all that stuff. And so I had to make the choice of putting in the work and doing the running and doing all that stuff this past year in order to prepare myself for where I'm at. I remember one day, it was probably 10 weeks out from the marathon, which actually happened this last week on April 6th. But 10 weeks before, I went out and ran a half marathon, and it was supposed to be really slow. But for some reason that day, I was just feeling it and I wanted to try it out. And so I ended up shaving 10 minutes off of my marathon time, or sorry, my half marathon time from the previous, I don't know, 4 or 5 months before that. And that was pretty cool to see, and unofficial, but it was something that was really cool for me to kind of experience, because my first marathon or half marathon back in February or January of last year, 2024, was 2 hours and 22 minutes, I think. And then when I ran this one about a year later in January, February, whenever that was, 10 weeks before April 6th, I ran 1:54, which shaved off a ton of time, almost 30 minutes. And it happened within a year. And I don't say that because I'm elite or I'm a great athlete, but I say that because when you're consistent and you show up on the daily basis to try to get better, those results end up coming. Like I never thought, like ever in the world, I'd be able to do that kind of thing. But what I've learned is that it's the consistency that makes you better. And it's not just going out and running. There's got to be some intention to it. Like I had plans and stuff that I was following through the Nike Run app, which is a great app, by the way, if you're interested in getting into running, because there are coaches that will talk through it with you. I remember in 2023 going out for a run, and it was a 20-mile, or not 20-mile at all, 20-minute run. And I was like, dude, I haven't ran 20 minutes in forever. But I went out and I got home and I'm like, Maddie, that's like the best thing that I've ever done. And here's the difference in this. A lot of times what happens when it comes to running is a lot of people will think, I've got to go out and I've got to sprint as fast as I can for as far as I can. Well, that's not the case when it comes to running. That's kind of what we're taught, and I think we're taught that, especially like maybe middle school, high school, when we're doing sports, because it just, like, that's what happens. If you get in trouble or the team messes up or whatever and you make a mistake, like, you've got to go out and you've got to run and you got to do those things. And so you sprint for a long period of time until they really want to make you throw up or quit or whatever. And what I started to learn as I started to use this Nike app, and now I'm seeing it with all the other running people that I follow on YouTube and Instagram and all that, that like over 80% of your runs, maybe even closer to 90, are supposed to be slow. At a pace where you are able to have a conversation with someone. I know you might be saying, there's no way I could even do that. Yes, you can. You can do that. You can run at a pace, and I don't even want to say slow, but a comfortable pace for you where you can have a conversation with someone. Whether that's 15 minutes or 12 minutes or 10 minutes, it doesn't matter. It's going to be different for everybody, but you can do it. Why? Why do I say that? Because I did it. I didn't think that I would ever be able to do anything like that. I remember when running a 5K for me was like the biggest thing that I could have done when it comes to being a runner. And then you start to have runner's confidence and you start to figure it out. And again, I'm not saying that I know everything. I'm not saying that I am elite. I'm not saying, because I'm definitely not, if you look at my marathon time, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But I'm saying I've been able to learn and grow so much so that now I feel excited to be able to go out and run and to be able to go out and get better. So that's kind of how I got to this point. But man, I love running, which is something I never thought I would say. When I was in high school, we would run because we got in trouble or whatever in baseball or training or whatever, and I just hated it because it wasn't fun. But now it's fun. I enjoy it. I go out, listen to music, I listen to podcasts, whatever that is, and I just enjoy running. Excuse me. But I remember the day that I signed up for the marathon, I got super excited. Not only am I going to run my first marathon ever, but I'm also running it in a city, Knoxville, that is very special to my family. Went to school down there at Johnson University in South Knoxville. Met my wife Maddie there. We spent 3 years there together. I proposed to her there. Just special. Just a special moment. And so really cool to be able to do the Knoxville Marathon with my family there at the finish line, being able to see me run through there. I got to run as like the last half mile. I got to run literally by the place that I proposed to Maddie, and just so cool. I didn't even realize that was going to be on the course until I ran up on it. But just super cool. But it's not easy. No one ever said that it was going to be easy. But I did about 18 weeks of training for the marathon. Now, I had put in some work, the couple months before that, doing half marathons and things like that, and training and doing those things. So I had a little bit of a base. But, man, I remember through those 18 weeks getting really, really excited, but also really, really nervous. And for some reason, before a kid, I never got sick. It just never happened. Like, it was maybe once a year. But early on in our marriage, like, I never got sick. And then when we had our kid, Ashton, I seemed to get sick all the time. But within 18 weeks, I was sick 3 different times. And that's hard. It's hard because you want to get out and train, but you can't do that. And then you feel like you're missing things. And I remember the weeks leading up to the marathon, like literally 3-4 weeks out, there were just different things that happened that stressed me out when it come to running. And I just felt like I wasn't going to be able to do what I needed to do in order to get there and be prepared and do those things. But I remember even like the week before the marathon, I mowed the yard that Friday. I don't know if that played a part in it. I was spray painting some stuff and here at the house, and I ended up Saturday before the marathon getting sick again. I had a fever, and I'm like, man, you've got to be kidding me. There's no way that this is happening to me right now. And you get in your head. Like, you kind of build up 3 weeks before to your biggest 20-miler or whatever, and then you start to taper off and run lower mileage. And I started to stress out. There is a psychological thing that happens there with a lot of runners that do this. But I started to freak out. I didn't know what was going to happen. I was nervous about the marathon. I didn't know what was going to happen. And then I get sick the Saturday before, and I wasn't able to run, I don't think, until Thursday of that week. And I don't have to run a lot, but I wanted to get the legs going a little bit. But also, 10 days out, I look at the forecast, and it says that it's a 90% chance of rain. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is not going to be fun. Like, I've ran in the rain before, but I've never ran in the rain for 26.2 miles, especially in Knoxville, where there's a bunch of hills. Elevation gain on the run, I think, was 1,400 feet, which is a lot over that span. And they even sent out an email like Thursday or Friday, saying like, hey, there's a chance we might have to cancel. It just kind of depends on the weather and what's going to happen here. And like, so all these psychological things got in my head, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. On top of that, we had an event here at church the day before, and so I was there all day, 8 to 5, running an event and being on my feet and just being a little tired after working all week, and then working Friday night to get ready for the event, and then setting up all day Saturday and doing the event. And so just a lot. And then we left from Piney Flats, where we live, to go to Knoxville that night, and then just a lot of running around, and then had to wake up early the next morning. I think I woke up at 4:30 and left around 6:30 to go to Knoxville, about a 30-minute drive to run the marathon. And so it had been raining. There was a lot going on there. I knew it was going to rain even harder later in the marathon, but got to the finish line, felt good for the first couple miles. I was excited. I was stoked. My goal for the marathon was to run a 4-hour marathon. And I didn't get anywhere close, but that was still going to be a stretch. I was going to have to put in a lot of effort, more effort than I've done on any kind of run that long before. But I was like, maybe there's a chance I could do it. My watch told me that my race predictor said that my marathon pace would be around a 9:30. It was going to end up being like 4:07. And I was like, maybe I can push it at the end and I can get it. And so that was my goal. But I was like, you know what, realistically, it's probably going to be somewhere between 4:10 to 4:20, just because I don't know how my body's going to react. I don't know how I'm going to feel. Like, who knows what kind of exhaustion is going to hit at mile 20, all these things. And so I just didn't really know what to expect when it came to all those things. And so I felt good. The first 6 or 7 miles was really, really good. During the race, I take gels, if you're familiar with that. It's kind of like a gooey energy source. So like, it's not a bad taste, but it's not the best taste ever. But you take those about every 30 to 45 minutes, and I was taking them every 30 just to make sure that I was ready later in the race. And so around mile 8, I want to say, I started to get really bad stomach issues. Actually, around mile 12 and a half or so, I ended up having to stop to go to the bathroom, which changed my time a little bit. But then from that mile, 12 and a half to 13, whatever that was, to like mile 18 or 19, my stomach was killing me. And not the best time to have stomach issues, right in the middle of a marathon. But Maddie and Sophie and Isaac were meeting me around mile 15 to give me a change of shoes, because my shoes were soaked. So I had a different pair of shoes, I had a different pair of socks. And at that mile, as I started to run up the hill to where they were, I started to get really bad quad cramps. And so that was around mile 15, and I ended up stopping for a few minutes, because I couldn't walk, couldn't straighten my legs out, but also I just needed some kind of fueling. I needed some water. I had to sit down, change my shoes. So I sat down for about 4 minutes, which again added time, and just a struggle from there. Once I got to mile 15, it was almost like my pace had slowed down about 2 or 3 minutes a mile. And that was frustrating, because I really wanted to get closer to my time goal. But in my head at that point, it was just like, Matt, you got to just finish. You got to get to the finish line. And so here I am. I've got 11 more miles with quad cramps, which I've never had while running, by the way. I may have had some calf cramps here and there, just sore feet or whatever, but nothing else was really hurting except for my quads. And I was cramping real bad. But I was like, you got to keep moving, got to keep going. In the rain, started to pick up around mile 15 as well, and didn't really let up a whole lot. Finally, I got to around mile 20, and started to a lot of people hit a wall there. I actually started to pick up the pace a little bit for about a mile there. But then once I got to mile 21, 22, my pace was back down. I mean, I was wanting to run 10 minutes a mile. I was running closer to 13 at this point, which was disappointing. But also I was like, you know what? Who cares about the time? 0.01% of people in the world ever finish a marathon or run a marathon. And so I was like, I'm just going to be part of that 0.01% who have finished a marathon. That's my goal. That's what I want to do. And so for the last 3 miles, I ran probably between a 11 and a half to 13 minute mile pace, which I wanted to run 10 the whole time. Or actually, I guess technically I wanted to run 9:30, but at least wanted to do 10. But it just didn't work out. It wasn't in the cards. And I remember around mile 22, 23, just thinking in my head, like, dude, there's no way I'm ever going to do this again. I'm not going to run a marathon. This is very difficult. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. I just said I'm never going to do it. It's never going to happen. And then I get to the finish line, and even after finishing, when we were in the car riding back, I kept telling Isaac and Sophie and Maddie, like, there's no way that I'm going to run this thing again. I was like, maybe I'll do another one day. Who knows? But I just don't think I am. Excuse me. But I got home, lay down for a bit. We went out to dinner that night. And by dinner time, I was ready to do another one. And I was like, all right, let's go. I'm ready to go run another one. Not at that time, but I'm ready to do another one, train for another one. And so I ended up running, if you look at the Knoxville clock, the official time, it said like 5:10, which obviously very disappointing for me on my time goal, but then again, I also ran a marathon, so I'm fine with that. But there were a couple stops in there, like bathroom stops, and I had to stop and change my shoes, and some different things like that I had to walk through and work through. And so my watch ended up telling me that it was more like 4:50. And so that would have been actual running time other than the stops, the bathroom stops, and all those things. So 4:50, I mean, I don't hate it, but still just a little disappointed in it, but that's okay, because I ran a marathon. I'll take that. But what I do know now, and one of the motivations for me to run another one at some point, is I know that I can get close to that goal, and I know that I can even beat that goal of 4 hours. It may take a couple of years, but I know that I can beat it. There's a lot of things that I learned through the marathon that I can help out, or that can help me later as I run more and more. But I know that I can beat that, and I think one day I could even get into the 3-hour mark, somewhere within the 3 hours, which would be awesome. And so I wanted to tell you my experience about running a marathon, because I never thought I'd be able to do it. And I know a lot of you might be thinking, there's no way that I could do it. There's no way I could get out and run. There's no way that I could do that. That was me. That was me. I didn't run cross country in high school. I didn't come from a family of runners. I didn't do anything like that. But I just know that it's possible because I've done it. And hopefully it can inspire you. We're starting a run club here in our community. And it's really a community-focused run club. It's not like we're going to train elite athletes here. But what I want people to understand is that no matter what level of running you're at now, you can get better and you can actually do what you want to do. A lot of people that I've talked to, they're like, I don't know if I can come. I don't know if I can do what everybody else does. It doesn't matter what everybody else does. It matters what you can do. And you will get better if you put in the time and you run. Because that's my experience. I was able to get better at running because I went out and I ran 4 to 5 times a week for a year. And I plan to do that from here on out too. And so I tell you this, hopefully to inspire you. Because I didn't think that I was going to be able to do it. But I did it. And I'm excited. I'm actually going to run the same Elizabethton half marathon that I ran last year here in about 2 weeks. I'm going to try to run another half marathon later in the year. I may run another marathon in November. I'm trying to figure out dates there. Obviously, our son is going to be born in July, so I don't know what that looks like. When it comes to training, it may take a couple more months to not try to build up high mileage, but just run regularly. But I would bet that if everything lines up next year for Knoxville Marathon, that I'll run that again. And I said I'd never run Knoxville again because the hills are awful, but I think I'll do it again. So if you've made it this far, I appreciate you listening to me ramble on about my training and my story about running. But here's what I want to leave you with is you can do it too. And you may not think you can do it, but you can do it. You may say, I don't have the time. There's time. You just got to make it. You can never just allow time to come to you because that's not going to happen. You just got to find the time. You got to make it. I would have loved all those moments where I was running 10, 15 miles, whatever, while Ashton while Ashton napped. I would have loved to lay down and just relax because she's all over the place all the time. And so she's running around. We're trying to keep up with her. But I made the choice to run. And you can make the choice too. And so do it. See what it takes. See what happens. See what happens if you say, you know what, I'm going to do it. Commit to something. I will tell you this. One of the best ways to commit to something and do this is sign up for a race. Whether it's a 5K, whether it's a half marathon, whether it's a 10K or 8K, whatever you do, 6K, sign up for a race because then it's on your calendar. And so you know that here in a couple of weeks, here in a couple of days, you're going to have to run it. So you got to prepare. That's what I did with the marathon. I was like, you know what? There's never going to be a great time to do it. And so I'm just going to sign up for it. And it's on the calendar. And now I've got to do it. So do it. That's my challenge to you. Maybe it's not running for you. Maybe it is. But try to make yourself better. Show up for yourself so that you can show up for your family. Not just now, but 50 years from now. That's the goal. So show up, sign up for the race, do those things, because I'm telling you, you won't regret it. I never, ever in my life thought that I was going to be able to run a marathon. But now I can say that I'm one of the 0.01% of people who have run a marathon. And that's just really cool. Nobody can take that from me. It doesn't matter what time I ran it in. I think it matters what time I ran it in, but it doesn't matter what time I ran it in. I ran a marathon. You can do it too.